Yeah, football now the topic on the SportsMax zone. Now, when perusing the Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League table, most of the positions would not come as a surprise based on history and from the teams over the past few seasons, with the entirety of the top 7 comprised of former champions. But when you cast your eyes downwards, you might notice something out of the ordinary. This is Harbour View, 5-time Jamaican top flight champions, most recently in 2022, and seemingly a permanent fixture in the league, currently sit in 13th on the 14-team table, languishing in the relegation zone. However, for keen observers of the league, this may not be that big of a shock, with the Stars of the East finishing in 12th in the 2023-2024 campaign, 1 spot away from relegation. So what has gone wrong at Harbour View? And with 23 matches still to go in the regular season, how can this situation be fixed? With us to answer these questions and more is Ludlow Bernard. He is a former head coach of the team, of course, and now a club administrator, and I'm told that his role is akin to that of a sporting director. Ludlow, good afternoon and welcome to the SportsMax zone. Before we go any further, I just want some clarification on your official current role with the Harbour View setup.
Yeah, good afternoon, gentlemen, and thanks for having me around. Right? Yes, currently, not only an executive member of the Harbour View Football Club, but I'm also the technical director of the group.
Fair enough. All right, so talk to us, Ludlow, because you won the title in 2022. Harbour View are 5-time champions, a long and rich history that dates back to the 1970s of making top flight finals in Jamaica. But you're struggling. You're really struggling. You're in 13th position, and that's coming off a season where Harbour View finished in 12th position. The type of impetus from youth players coming into the system that we've become accustomed to with the Harbour View Football Club doesn't seem to be the case at this stage. What's really happening at Harbour View?
Well, I'm pity that you have to paint the picture that ugly. You understand, but it is what it is, and the perception is a hell of a thing. Yes, we have not been doing very well lately, coming over from last season. I think one of the factors that could have contributed is that after having favorable campaigns in 22 and 23, we probably, could have paid a bit more attention to the turnover of the players. Yes, we would have lost some, either by overseas or other players going onto other more lucrative clubs. But I don't think we have been good in terms of our recruiting and getting the players necessary that would want in order for us to really pose a challenge. Added to that, we have had different coaching staffs, and of course, probably would take some time in terms of getting adjustments. But then again, even then, that is still not an excuse. But of course, we are really committed to really correcting this situation. First and foremost, because of the standards we have set over the years, and of course, our many fans out there who really look forward to us being, and even our opponents as well, who look forward to us being in the prime positions year after year. But it has been a multifaceted set of reasons as to contributing to the position that we are in. Added to that, you spoke about youth, the youth transition. Our youth program probably, would have, I've not said suffered, but some of the players probably would have taken a bit of time to really transition themselves. I really don't see it happening just yet this season, but then again, we hope that going forward that we'll have players coming through. But for now, we have to do what we have to do in terms of making sure that we have players and quality players out there that can get the job done. Okay. We still have some very ambitious hopes for the rest of the remaining games, right? Of course, clearly the first mission and order of business is to put ourselves back in a favorable position and get ourselves out of the relegation zone. And then thereafter we take it from there.
Yeah, Ludlow, of course, as you pointed out, you're still in a precarious position, 13th place in the league right now, in the relegation zone. Can you even fathom, and I know you guys, escaped it last year, for want of a better term, but can you even fathom Harbour View being relegated and not being in Jamaica's top flight?
I don't want to make comparisons. Of course, we have, as I said, we have our own standards. It's not a situation that we look forward to. It's not a situation that we could ever fathom. And clearly, it will be very difficult to deal with going forward. So we have no other option but to really get ourselves out of it. Being negative about it and getting a bit too emotional over it is not the answer. It's not the way to deal with it. We have to be proactive in what we do, and that's exactly what we are set about doing right now. We have, as a group, coaching staff, management, executive, we are all committed to reversing this particular situation.
Ludlow, you spoke earlier on about the players available to you at the moment and, the rebuilding of your unit. But looking on as a spectator, fans would still be a little bit concerned that some of your established players and players of known quality haven't really been developing. I see players like Akwasa Chung, Demar Rose and Janet Talbot on the bench, some of them coming off the bench later in the game. But what would be the explanation for these established players?
Well, as I said before, the whole makeup and the content of the squad for maintaining a certain level of competitiveness, I don't think we would have been able to really put ourselves in that position. As I said, the recruiting would not have been the greatest, and that probably would have contributed to the lack of competitiveness, hence probably complacency would set in. But these are the very same players, I can tell you, they are very committed to getting us out of this slump. And of course, I see the reaction in the training. We would have lost our last game on Sunday evening, but there were some very good positives in that second half of the game, and we aim to build on it going forward. And of course, if the training sessions of Monday, Tuesday afternoon, and the response that I'm seeing from the players, we are extremely confident that we'll get ourselves out of this slump.
Yeah, as a national award-winning coach, Ludlow, a lot of people looking on would have the feeling that since Ludlow Bernard stepped away as a Harbour View coach, the team suddenly declined after that. I'm not sure if you have a comment on that.
No, as I said before, and I'm still maintaining this point, it all has to do with the turnover of players. Harbour View would have had some good players in the 21, 22, 23 season, but we would have failed to really identify the adequate replacements, and probably would have escaped the bullet last season when we finished in 12th position, right? Of course, at the end of last season, we would have been lost, one of our more prominent players in Joshua and Anglin. We have already lost Demar Rose this season, right? And of course, who else is there? And there are one and two others within the group who, due to disciplinary issues, would have had to really exclude them from out of the squad, right? But as I said before, based on what I'm seeing, the efforts that we're making right now to replenish the squad and make it very, very competitive, that seems to be going pretty well.
Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of football left to be played in the season, so I'm not one to be, completely sold on what I see happening now as far as the standings are concerned, because you're in relegation at the moment, but there's enough football left to play, Ludlow, for an improved Harbour View team to get themselves out of the trouble. And I've been looking at the past decades of Premier League football in Jamaica, and I've never seen where Harbour View had been even close to being relegated. And I know last year...
We would have been there in about the 2016, 2017.
Yeah, but...
we were saved by the bell with none other than Sean Fraser down at here.
Yeah, that's right. But I was even saying, even last year when you were one spot above the drop zone, you were 9 points above the drop zone. So from a positional standpoint, you were just one place above the drop zone. But you were 9 points ahead of the drop zone. So I don't think there was any, major scare.
Would not have been any danger.
Yes.
But clearly the danger is there now. And there seems to be evidence of, some improvement in some of the teams, some of the effort, even the newer teams that are in the league right now. So it stands for good competition, and we relish it.
Yeah, and after the loss against Malines, the coach, Donald Stewart, he was, of course, interviewed, and he spoke about one of the issues being that of, lack of personnel. When he talks about that, Ludlow, is he only speaking about the lack of the players because of the different reasons you mentioned, or is he speaking also about, the backroom staff and all of that?
I think we're adequately staffed in the back room. Probably there is one area in which we have to address, which will be addressed it has already been addressed, but it is not yet in place, right? But in terms of the backroom staff, it's already there. And of course, lately I have been a little bit more involved than usual because, of course, Ludlow Bernard cannot leave this team, right? I've been very careful in previous seasons when I was coaching to really shepherd some of the coaches, Ricardo, Damian, Fabian Taylor, throughout. This is almost a similar situation, but then again, this one is one that comes with a bit more consequences. So it's really a grand effort that is going to be taken from everybody and all concerned.
Yeah, and when you're battling relegation or you're losing matches after matches, it can be very difficult for the players' spirits to be up, right? Because you just feel like, every time you play a match, you're losing and you're losing by a large margin. The goals aren't coming as you expect and all of that. How difficult, Ludlow, will the task be to ensure that this team stays motivated and keeps their head, out of the water?
There have been 2 games in which we have lost. We would have lost by multiple goals. One 6-0 to Tivoli Gardens and another one 3-1 to Malines. All the other games have been the odd goal or just by a 1-0 margin. One of the problems that we have faced at the back end of last season and coming to this season is the lack of a reliable goal scorer.
Yeah.
After the transfer window of January in 2024, we had a reliable goal scorer in Shaquille Bradford, and then unfortunately he left for Mount Pleasant. Since that time, we have not replaced him, and of course we haven't had anybody who would have taken up that mantle. Quite interestingly, we have Okwasa Chung who has 7 goals, but there have been 7 penalties. As a matter of fact, this team has been able to generate a number of dead ball situations, corners, and penalties. And I'll probably check even more than lots of other teams inside the league. It's just that we have not been able to capitalize on it, right? With what we're embarking on right now, we figure that we will have the goods to take care of our goal scoring situation. Because I think once we score first, I think it will be very difficult to beat us. So our main job is to identify somebody or somebodies who will put the ball in the goal reliably and be a threat to the opponent. And then we'll take it from there. We are that confident.
Yeah, Ludlow, we understand that Colorado Murray and Trayvon Reed have reported back to Harbour View training. Can you confirm that and speak a little to how much they could add to this unit?
I'm not going to speak too much on that other than to say that both have attended training sessions. Nothing has been finalized as yet.
Is Okwasa Chung out of form at the moment, or are there aspects of his game that he's struggling with? Because he had been a couple of years ago a potent enough striker to have gotten a stint in Denmark, I think, had gone there with Esbjerg. And at that point, in his early 20s, he was seen as a potentially prolific goal scorer. But we haven't seen that from him this season.
Okwasa Chung went to Mount Pleasant and found himself in a similar position. And then the goals dried up. And then as soon as competition came in, well, he was reduced to the bench. And then towards the back end of the season, he began to find the goals again. I think coming into Harbour View, he finds himself in a situation where he probably is identified as the go-ahead person. But unfortunately, the mentality to really deal with that situation is not there. Hence, this is the reason why I speak of the competitiveness that is required within the team in order for a lot of persons to perform. Yesterday afternoon at training, with a number of persons present within the training itself, I saw Okasachong delivering some stuff that he was not doing before, and that gives me hope.
Yeah, sounds good. In terms of, we are in the transfer window now, Ludlow, in terms of identifying players and bringing fresh blood into the unit, have you as a team, Harbour View as a team, been able to do that yet? And are there players that you are eyeing at this stage to help to boost this setup?
There are players, former Harbour View players, that are returning to the fold, and that probably should be unfolded on Sunday afternoon coming. In terms of new players, there are probably, about 3 positions and players that we are seeking, years that we're trying to fill. We would have filled one, I think we would have filled one of 3 already. All right, as I said before, there are 2 players that will be returning to the group. And then, of course, the other 2 that you mentioned, once they should join, then it really should bolster our chances and opportunities.
Yeah. Are there any confirmed that you can speak to on this show now?
Well, the only person that I will confirm to are the only 2 persons that one would have played on Sunday. That was Javid George, a Dominican national, a Dominican international, who comes with a proud record playing in Dominica and playing for the Dominican national team. So he will probably be the leading the line for us going forward. And of course, there's the return of Timar Lewis.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, thanks very much for
joining. And also Anthony Bennett.
Anthony Bennett, yeah. Thanks very much for joining us, Ludlow, and being as candid as you can. We really do wish Harbour View all the best. I personally don't think that I can't think about a Jamaica Premier League without Harbour View being involved with it. I still remember some of the awesome football that was played in the early 2000s, the mid 2000s as well, all the way up to 2010 and beyond, and even a few years ago when you won the league again. So to not have Harbour View at their best is already not good to see in Jamaica's top flight football, but to not have you in the top flight at all, I can't imagine that.
Ricardo, we're really looking forward to correct this particular anomaly, and of course, as I said before, we are confident of doing that. Hopefully the next time that you do happen to have a conversation with us, it will be about us being in a much more favourable position.
All right, sounds good, Ludlow. At least you and the Harbour View fraternity know that we're all watching on, and we're all hoping that you'll be able to do what needs to be done. Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
All right, Ludlow Bernard, Technical Director of the Harbour View Football Club, also an executive of the administration. And I don't know if Lance is an executive of any football administration.
No, he's not.
But he is the executive of At the Track. And I think
I actually was a resident of Harbour View in my early years.
That doesn't make you executive.
When I was born and up to when I was about 2 or 3 years old, I was living in Harbour View.
So Harbour View is your team, your original team.
Well, by geography, yes. Anyway, don't miss At the Track coming up on Thursday's show. You remember the great Jamaican thoroughbred racer, She's a Man-Eater, don't you? Well, her offspring has started his career, his name Stormbringer. And this is how She's a Man-Eater's son dismissed his rivals on his debut at Caymana Park on Saturday. This plus other stories from Jamaica, Barbados and Guyana in our At the Track presentation Thursday on the SportsMax Zone.